also there is a hand button. Oh, look at Candy's already. She's got her own sign. There you go. Put yourself on mute. Unmute me and mute me. And then also there is a little icon at the top of your screen that has a raise your hand. I will do my best to call on you if we see your hand raised, but I do ask our wonderful staff to please keep me in line if I don't see something. I only have so many screens, icons here that I can see. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the agenda. Let me pull it up here. I'm on a different computer this morning, so bear with me, please. I have the first item, which was the, where did it go? Hold on one second, I'm sorry. There we go. To discussion, item number 4, discussion and possible action to amend the April 5th, 2021 meeting minutes. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, do we need a quorum or do we need a motion, Vanessa? I don't believe we do.
I'll make a motion to accept if you want.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in, any opposed? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right,
Who
thank you very much.
seconded that, please? Who seconded that, please? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Bill Stedham.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Item agenda number 5. We did have a letter in your backup that was from a member of the public, and I do believe that that has been resolved. The public comment we had was from the CE shop. It looks like it has been resolved as of this morning, and I would think it's fair to address that it was a specific issue at hand that was resolved with staff, and looks like there was maybe a misunderstanding of the rule. With that said, staff's going to go ahead and look into whether the rule could be clarified further, but that at this time, no action is necessary. It was in reference to rule number 535.71. So if anybody has any comments or questions, we can certainly take that at this time, but it seems like, according to my knowledge this morning, it had been resolved. Any questions or comments on that? No? All right, let's move along here. Next up, we have the results from the Broker Responsibility Working Group and the Esac surveys. Thank you all who filled out the survey. It was very, very helpful. There was a lot of information in your backup. I hope you read it. But today we're going to have an update with regards to that survey. And Vanessa, if you would cover the survey and next steps, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your materials, everyone, you had all of the responses, right? For you to read through and take a look at and get an idea of commonality between the two groups, things that are on your collective minds in terms of broker responsibility. How does that correspond with education, in particular that broker agent relationship, where we want to make sure that that message is getting out of what is the broker's responsibility, what is the agent's responsibility, and what should the two know about each other, right? I think we see a lot of comments that relationship could be strengthened, but how? And so in looking at that survey, that was one of the main things that came out of it that were discussed. And what Broker Responsibility Working Group did is they took the responses that we got from Esac, and again, I would say thank you to everyone who filled that out. Thank you for that. And then also the responses from the Broker Responsibility Working Group. Discussion was had, and walked away with really 3 big topics. The first one being, I don't know that there's an order, but the first one that I will list, outreach. The second one, competency, right? And the third one being broker responsibility, which I know the name is broker responsibility working group, but I think that's really that agent broker relationship. And I know that's something that the chair has stressed as being significant to him, in terms of both education and that broker responsibility group. So that said, the broker responsibility working group is going to, at its next meeting, which is on the 14th, so next week, it will start with outreach. And I think outreach is going to be something that's really important in the next year, really something that the commission is going to focus on. And I wanted to bring this, and I talked to Commissioner Lerner about this. I think she's actually here today, as she transitions off of that group as a member and onto that group as a liaison. How important it is for the agency to engage in effective outreach, because I think you can email people all day long. Are they reading it? Are they getting the message? You can do any number of things, and is your message really being conveyed? I think we all know the importance of that, especially because we have a lot of educators on here, right? So in that regard, they are going to open this up to a pretty big discussion on what types of outreach, like actual methods of outreach, do they think are productive in this industry? What different ideas can be out there, topics that are really important that they think that message needs to get out there. And this will actually be the subject of the commission workshop in August. All of that said, one, I wanted to catch you up and not think that the surveys just went out into, the world. I was going to say the internet, but the world, and nothing happened, because something certainly did happen. And two, I think as we continue looking at this crossover, if anyone has any ideas, if this idea of outreach and education and topics that you think are important in your role as Esac members, or even as brokers, please reach out to me. Let me know. Maybe you come to broker responsibility working group. I would just get in touch with me. This is going to be ongoing. We're going to have that workshop in August. Ideas that maybe Esac might have in terms of what you guys can do, what's within your purview. Just really, I wanted to stress that message from broker responsibility working group and from the chair of just this collective approach to getting messages out there and helping everyone to make sure we communicate and get that agent broker relationship out there, and anything else that you all think as members of your industry is really important to furthering things along and improving what you see out there. And on that note, I will sum it up. If you want to participate, if you have some ideas, some thoughts, please reach out directly to me. You can email me. You can always call me. You have my information. And I don't know if Kalea, if you wanted to add anything else to that, or I know Commissioner Lerner's on there. I am not putting her on the spot to say anything, though.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about a comprehensive communications plan, and I think that much of that is a strategic approach to all of the ways that we touch both our licensees, and then in turn they touch the consumer. And so really coming at it from a real strategy. We can throw things against the wall, we can talk about it all the time, but we really just need to put a pen to paper and understand what that means, what cost implications that requires, and what type of outreach and reach, right, that actually results in. So the goal of all of this, we're in its infancy with regards to the feedback. We've collected the feedback. Now it's time to really put the pen to paper and get to work. And so I, for one, certainly would like to be at the table for that. I know many of you would as well. So please do, as Vanessa is requesting, if you have ideas, send them to me, send them to Vanessa and staff. Jennifer, I know everybody's all open ears, but we're ready to get to work and get this thing launched. So that's the next step. And we look forward to seeing what comes of it. Nothing is always perfect, but at least we're getting out there. And once we try, we'll know what we need to improve upon. And then what works, what doesn't work. let's throw some things against the wall and start making this happen. I know that our chair, Mr. Scott Kessner, this is what he's very passionate about. Primarily the agent to broker relationship is something that is needed. We all wouldn't be at this table if we didn't feel that way. So let's go get to work and start making some things happen. Thank you, Vanessa. Our next item on the agenda, or let me first open it up to the floor. Does anybody else have any other comments with regards to that update? All right. So here we have an update at agenda item number 7, update from Legal 1 and 2, the writing group. And we have several of our wonderful committee members, Mr. Charles Porter, Marion, and Byron, all on this call. And so Vanessa, I'll let you kick it off once more, and then we certainly want to have any input from them since they are our liaisons to this writing group.
Okay. Hello everyone again. Don't worry, I won't talk as long this time. I had said that I would provide an update. The Legal 1, Legal 2 course book is in its, I don't know if you would call it final draft. It's in its editing draft, in that it is put together. It looks like a book, and we are going through it with the group and making sure, things make sense, talking it out. Looking at the examples that are in there, and then from and I'll let Jen speak to this a little bit more because she's more in touch with the process in the past, as I have not been. But we are looking at that, and I just wanted to, this is what I wanted to note. I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. One of the things that came, part of the reason for having so many members give us input from this group, with the members of Charles and Marion and Byron, was to really look at fair housing, and that training and the diversity training. And I'm very impressed with what's in there. I think you will be too. I think that a lot has been put in there that's really relevant and useful. So I just want to let you guys know that, you'd been given that charge, and I think there's been a lot of success on that end. And Jen, if you have anything, or if any of the members who worked on it want to add anything in there, please go for it.
Well, I'll just say yes to everything Vanessa just said. And I think the subject matter experts in this writing group took very seriously the recommendation from Chair Kessner and ideas from this group, and the participation of having members of this group as part of the writing group has been really, really successful. We have so much really, really good content. And like Vanessa said, really, we've gotten everything. We're just kind of in an editing phase right now. And the next step will be, once that's complete, then the materials will go before the commission at the August meeting for adoption.
Let me say, I think it's been a very pleasant experience. We've worked together very well collaboratively. We split up the workload. I think we were all very focused on being responsive to the current dynamics of this weird marketplace. And looking ahead to what we're going to face next year, ad valorem taxes, water rights, fiduciary duties, on top of all the great work on the housing. It's been a great experience for me, and we meet again Friday. We've met quite often. I just hope we can meet in person sometime soon.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? I know Marion was going to be a little bit late. Mr. Byron, if you're on this call, any other questions or comments on this?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
I've had a lot of fun working on it. I guess that's okay to say. We have almost completed the Legal 1, maybe finals, the wrong word to use, but pretty close to that draft. And then this Friday, our goal is to work through Legal 2 so that we can hit the target that Jen was talking about and getting it to the commission in August, which I think we will. I think everybody will come on Friday ready to complete the task.
Thank you. That's great. What I love about this most too is, if you recall, a couple of months ago, we received a letter on this topic from a member or a licensee in public comment This is just, this is good work at hand with regards to being so responsive in a short period of time. So thank you for all of that hard work. I know that it's a lot. And so as Charles said, we split it up and made it happen. I do know that the conversation with regards to fair housing, DEI, there's never enough, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see this push for this type of good work. So thank you for that, and more to come, hopefully, once we get the results of the new the writing group for Legal 1 and 2. All right, let's see here. We are on discussion item number 8, update from the Professional Designations Working Group. Everybody's been working hard. Miss Candy, can you speak to your recommended changes and the work of that group with regards to the professional designations rule?
Okay, so when we do our talking points, it's like we're the negative ones. We were talking about that the designations were addressed in the rules. We talked about the subsection, and it's subsection F. Instead of updating and or expanding the list that's contained in the rule, we're recommending that we delete this subsection and require the CE providers to get these courses approved. The list itself is thought to be limiting. It goes out of date very, very quickly as these designations shift to meet the needs. Okay. There is also some confusion with license holders who think that TREC has awarded the designations through the course approval. Elimination of this subsection will mean that these courses will now go through the regular process and allow for upfront review and approval like all other courses. Vanessa or Jen, do you want to add to this? Vanessa's going no.
No, Candy, I think you summarized it really well. We talked about, the group talked about the option, one option, which was to eliminate the reference to specific designations and establish a minimum criteria for designations or the organizations that award designations. But that, comes with its own, difficulties in that there's still the requirement for staff to regularly review the organization criteria, even if you were to establish a minimum, to continue to determine if they meet whatever those standards could be. Like Candy said, there's, also the potential liability that TREC might have when listing designations on a license holder's education history, as it might imply to a consumer that TREC has awarded a designation and this person is an expert in this field, when that's not the case. So the opportunity for TREC to regularly review the courses that are required to obtain a designation is really great. If they come to us through the traditional manner, we review them every 2 years, which gives us an opportunity to make sure content stays, current and relevant. So yeah, by removing that language in 535.92, then all of the traditional requirements that are in the CE rule 535.75 are, those become the precedent.
Absolutely. Vanessa, anything you want to add?
I don't have anything to add. You guys covered it all. I thought it was a great meeting. I'll say that. And I rarely say things are a great meeting, but that was a great meeting. I think everybody really talked it out, and I think we got to a place that is, more transparent, and I think stays up to date, right? Because when you have that specific list in there, I think everyone was just like, well, this is already out of date, and are we going to revisit this list every time we get new ones? What's the option here? And I think the group really did come up with a solution that is transparent and effective.
I think with the current trend, I'm seeing more and more people starting to develop certifications and designations. And I don't think we should be putting our stamp on those. And I think if we put those names into our regulations, I think Trek is taking some of that burden. And I don't think that's where it should be. All right. Anybody else?
Kelly, I believe, just put her hand up. Kelly, go ahead.
Sure. I just wanted to comment that I was a part of that working group, and one thing, kind of being an outsider, this isn't a designation. I mean, it's not my area. I'm not a real estate agent, but I was confused that I thought those were things that Trek put in place. So being a part of the working group and kind of being naive to that, to me, it became very obvious that it was smart to just remove it, because I think, coming from it from a law mindset would be that, okay, there's good reason to think that Trek had some sort of control over that certification. And talking it through and realizing that Trek had zero control over all of that, and that there's all these other certifications going on out there that really have nothing to do with Trek, I'm strongly suggesting that we recommend that we just delete this from the rule.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? So to be clear, this is removing the subset F that lists out all of the listed designations that are sort of out of date, and thank you, and may or may not be true today. And I do see, Mr. Albers, your hand up. So if you have, Kelly, if you want to remove your hand, and Rick, if you would please go ahead, we'll hear what you have to say as well.
Okay, I just wanted to say I think the working group is going down the right path here. That's exactly what I think should be done as well, even though I'm not on the working group.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much to this working group. Thank you for meeting. I don't hear any opposed at this time. If you are opposed or you have additional questions, let's go ahead and take them now. Otherwise, we'll move to seek a vote for this recommendation to strike subset F from this rule. Is that a fair motion, Vanessa, Jennifer? Okay, so I'll be seeking a motion to strike, I forget, is it 535.93, 92? 2, thank you, from that rule.
So move.
Candy, thank you. We need a second, please.
Second.
Okay, that's Mr. Porter. Any opposed? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Thanks, team. Great job. Thank you, Candy, for leading that charge.
For eliminating everything.
Hey, listen, Candy, we know that was your bone coming onto this committee, so good job. All right, let's move on to, we're already getting through this. Agenda item number 9, discussion and possible action regarding the 535.92 continuing education requirements. And let me just pull my notes here. Was it Jennifer? Did you want to kick that off for us?
I think that's what you all just
That's what we just did.
I think we moved
Yep,
from
that's
8
right.
to 9.
That's what
We
we
did.
just did. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
And we didn't have any opposed on that, right?
I didn't hear any or see
I
any.
didn't. Okay. Okay.
Actually, I don't think you asked.
Oh, I thought I did, Mr. Albers.
Oh.
Did I not? I apologize. Yes, I didn't hear any opposed. So I think we're okay there. All right. Let me pull up our agenda here. All right. Does anybody have any discussion items for our next meeting? Anything on your mind? One thing that I have talked to Jennifer and Vanessa about is, as we have come into this new time and we have learned so much about virtual, we've learned so much about online, we've learned so much about classroom now being virtual, now being online, and people are sort of coming back into the classroom, this concept of delivery method is changing. What does delivery method even mean right now? And so while I'm not requesting to put this item on the agenda, TREC does have quite a bit of rules around delivery method and what constitutes online versus classroom. And so I would like to charge this group to go back and read the rules surrounding delivery methods and maybe, get some thoughts around it, share your thoughts with myself, with Jennifer and Vanessa. And if you'd like to bring something to the next agenda on that topic, I would be interested to hear your thoughts. The live broadcast virtual is considered classroom. We still have, we streamlined some of the rules around online and classroom regulations. But I think that we probably need to revisit that as we move into this new time and try to be innovative with regards to what we're mandating from a TREC perspective. And is it too limiting? Is it not limiting enough? Or do we just need to change the definition as it stands? So those are my takeaways during this time. And as we start to move into the second half of this year, it would be interesting to see this group come with some perspective on the concept of what a delivery method even means today. And then Candy, I see your hand up, I believe.
Right. I delivered the keynote speech to Orello last Friday. Texas looks like a rock star. I'm going to tell you right now. I was challenged on live broadcast versus online, and I've got to tell you that my kudos go out to TREC. And for getting this going, I've got 8 or 9 years in using Zoom. People hadn't even looked at this. I think our guidelines, Jen, aren't our guidelines basically at the top, I believe, on this. Maybe getting a look at what some of the other states have done. I repeatedly got challenged on why do we think live broadcast is the same as live classroom. I think you guys were rock stars on this, but I think we need to continue this conversation because the world is evolving on us. And I hate to tell you guys, I don't think we're going back to what we were before. I think we've got to recognize that our license holders have figured out that they don't have to spend hundreds of dollars in time and days to go take a class. Just saying.
I couldn't agree with you more, Candy. I definitely agree with you. And that even goes to having to check IDs, are we checking IDs? Are we looking at course certificates versus checking IDs? I mean, there's things that are we need to be innovative and think forward on. What is 5 years going to look like, right? Where's that crystal ball? But I couldn't agree more, Candy. Thank you for sharing that information. I think it would behoove us to go back and let's reread the rules and see if anything jumps off the page with regards to what we're doing, how we can continue to innovate and be progressive and not be limiting with regards to holding, TREC having to sort of keep up with this and use old rules, if you will. So, and Mr. Stedham, I think I see your hand up. Yes, sir.
Yes, a couple of things. Well, I agree that I love the fact that we can do live broadcasting. I question what's happening to the competency of our licensees in the field. And are they actually competent at what they're doing? And do we even look at that? In other words, in the field all the time, we're encountered situations that I wonder where they learned how to do it, how they learned how to present that contract or what they're actually performing on. Second thing I would question is we continue to have very experienced real estate licensees and brokers bragging about the fact that they can complete their CE in a abbreviated period of time, a couple of hours for 18 hours. I think as we're looking at this, we've got to evaluate, do we have the right rules in place to prevent abuse? And how do we get those abuses to the people who can look at it, which would be Trek, so that they can be stopped in the future?
Thank you. What I heard you say is continue to hold and uphold integrity with regards to education and competency. So that's absolutely, I think, the purview of this group. So thank you for that. Any other questions or comments?
I came back with one, if that's
Okay.
all.
Sure.
And I'm going to throw Tony Slagle under the bus. One of the things that happened when Trek quit regulating instructors, it falls on the providers, and I know the providers work hard on it. We're not getting we're not training necessarily as much. And I think maybe, is there a way for us to figure out a list of guidelines or how to up our game on our instructors? Because one of the problems is that you can have bad instructors in a classroom, you can have bad instructors in a live broadcast, you can have bad instructors on online. And I'm going to tell you, I've taken some online that just give me a gun and shoot me. Okay. We don't have a whole lot of guidelines. I know it's not Trek's purview, but is there a way we could put something together of suggestions or maybe a resource? Jen, I know I'm making you work harder, but because I gotta tell you, teaching, we just need to have good instructors, not somebody standing in the front of the room reading the PowerPoint, whether it's live or online or where it is. So I don't know. We were discussing this at Arello last week. What do we have to do to bring those instructors up to the level they need to be at? Because it used to be we could sit in a classroom with a book in front of us and lecture. That's over. We're done with that. How do we make ourselves, how do we provide to our license holders the best information we can? And as Bill said, they walk among us. You didn't say that, but they walk among us, and you can't figure out how did these people get here? How did they get to where they don't know a contract? They don't know any of it. So that's something maybe we could look at. I don't know.
Okay. That's a great suggestion, Candy. Thank you. I believe it was Sharon, Jennifer, and then Mr. Crowley. Am I wrong? Thought I saw a hand up. All right. Jennifer.
I did have my hand up,
Sarah.
but I wanted to wait for Sarah.
Oh, maybe Sarah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Can you hear me okay? I'll agree with Candy. And, I sat through a class the other day and I was ready to poke my eyes out when I was through, because it was pretty much just let me put my head down and read this to y'all and pay attention. So I don't know what that looks like, because I don't know how we're getting people in as instructors or what exactly that's doing, since we've taken that away from Trek, or Trek's no longer kind of governing it. So I see a lot of problems. I hear a lot of problems. I've started back with some live classes, which I'm good with the Zoom, but I have a lot of students say, man, some of the classes we've had to take is not worth taking. And we got credit, so I guess you can just go over there and get your credit and be done with it. And so I think there's something we need to figure out on what that looks like. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Jennifer.
So I just wanted to address a little bit of what Candy brought up, which was qualifications of instructors. So just as a reminder, we do still have the Rule 535-63, which sets a criteria for qualifying course instructors. We don't have anything that speaks to continuing education instructors. And I think historically, so we used to have an application for continuing education instructors. There was no criteria listed. Essentially, I think it was more like a registration. And I think that when Sunset came in, that's why they decided, like, this application doesn't really serve a purpose. And so they recommended eliminating our approval of instructors. So I'm just kind of giving a little bit of history and context. But I agree that I see a problem with instructors and, their integrity in the course delivery. I think we set ourselves up. Esac, several years ago, put us in a position where we could transition with COVID really quickly because we defined classroom as live, interactive, and in real time where you can see each other. So that was a real benefit when COVID hit because of education providers could transition to that. But like you all have mentioned, that has come with, its own set of bugs. Early on, we had to write an article because people are probably still in their cars when they're taking CE, and on their phones. And that was something that never occurred to me that would happen, but probably more easily occurs to you guys who are out in the day to day. So all of that to say, I agree that this could use some attention. It would be helpful for staff, to pay some attention to this and maybe, like Kalea said, look at it again, fresh set of eyes. We have new experiences now. And I think this group could probably make some really valuable contributions.
Okay, so where do we go from here? Would it behoove us to maybe have a little homework, go back, let's read through the rules with regards to both instructor for pre-licensing. Do we want to duplicate something like that for continuing education? And then maybe bring back some recommendations with regards to instructor qualifications. And then it would still be incumbent upon the provider to ensure that those qualifications are met. And then if this group wants to come back with some recommendations at our next meeting, do we have a consensus on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what we'll do
Yeah.
is I'll work with Vanessa and Jennifer. We'll send out an email to make sure that we're all reviewing the same portions of the rules and we're, kind of all on the same page. And then we'll put it as an agenda item for our next meeting to come back, have some discussion and a potential recommendation. Is that good for everybody? Thumbs up, consensus, yay.
Yep. And Clay, I think you still got one hand up, Mike Crowley.
Oh, forgive me, Mr. Crowley. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And I 100% agree. And let me know where I could help with this particular one, because it's really turned into the Wild West out there when it comes to CE providers. Jennifer's team is amazing. When they're reviewing courses, they don't give grace, right? They follow checklists and they're making sure that courses get approved a certain way. I think one of the issues that we're facing is it's not that the material is good. They're going through it and they're approving these courses, but it's the delivery, it's the providers, and it's the instructors. And this comes down to maybe it's the enforcement side of the house. I know once a lot of things went on Zoom, I take a lot of classes. I'm looking at other folks out there. I want to see who's teaching what. Is there something new that we can use? And the things I've seen out there are terrible. I'm sure others have seen the same things, where folks are doing these classes and they're not checking IDs. They're not teaching the material that's approved. They're not teaching for the time limits allowed. They're simply just not following the rules that are already in place. So while I would agree that part of it is that having instructors qualified on the CE side and the elective side are important, 100% agree on that. The other side of it is, what do we do with this enforcement of what's already happening? The rules that are already in place are simply not being followed. Maybe it's some more stuff coming from the enforcement side of things. Maybe it's educating us on what we can do, but I'd like to see something on that space to say, what can we do with the rules in place that are not being followed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know that Trek sent out some informing the providers most recently that they were going to sort of kick up the auditing and kick up the enforcement on that. And so I think I would, maybe an update on that, Jennifer, or an update at our next meeting on where we are, how much has been audited, what are we finding, and also maybe qualify some of that data, because that would be helpful to us to understand where we need to maybe tweak some of the rules or continue to enforce certain sections of them that you're seeing, perpetually coming up. Is that a word? Perpetuating coming up. So Jennifer.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. And I'm glad you brought that up, Kalea, because we have, we moved into another phase of the audit program, which is the administrative part of the audit for education providers. It was a great undertaking to to review all of the CE provider websites, which is where we started. And one of the things that I had thought about bringing to this committee was to ask you all to look at our advertising rules, because there's something that's been brought up consistently, is the way that our CE or education providers advertise and the way that they kind of selectively cherry pick certain information when comparing themselves with other providers. So not to get completely off topic, because I know that's not this discussion, but since we're talking about audits, that was something that I had considered asking this group to take a look at. I can definitely give you guys a more exact and full update of where we are with the audit program and what we're seeing. We have not moved yet into the phase that takes us into the actual course audit, but I can tell you that we have so many findings already between the compliance audits of the websites and the administrative audits. At which point, administrative audits of the qualifying education providers do include a look into how the education providers are qualifying their instructors. So that is a component. It's on the QE end right now. But I think that's a great idea, and I'm happy to bring a more full audit update to you guys at the next meeting.
Great. Okay, that sounds like a nice agenda. Does anybody have any other things they'd like to add or topics they'd like to discuss? We'll make sure we send up like I said, a follow-up email on this. I see Mr. Stedham and then Ms. Wilkinson, Commissioner Wilkinson.
Just one quick question. I heard it mentioned in the beginning, if this meeting ever goes to an in-person meeting, or will it always be via teleconference?
Great question. I think we had, for the foreseeable future, talked about doing it virtually just for the sake of people's travel. However, if the will of this committee wishes to come back to in person, we certainly can make that happen as well. I'm sure there's some logistics at the Trek level that we need to make happen. I'm not sure what their staff status is with regards to, enabling our group to come in, et cetera. So is there a wish to come back to live in person?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I can do a survey. So this is what I've been doing with the other groups. Is, I mentioned earlier that we're looking at some of these open meetings waivers. We're looking at what Esac is authorized to do. But I think importantly, doing a survey that I can send out and gauge comfort level and what kind of meeting you'd like to see. Do you want a bigger table with some distancing? Just things like that. That is on our minds and in our practice at the moment. We're really looking into that. So that's good to know that there is some interest here, and I can put out a survey to the group, and you can respond to me, and I can get, kind of get the temperature and what you'd like to see in terms of that.
Thank you. We'll add that to our list. And then Commissioner Wilkinson, I see your hand up. Is that right? Oh, you're muted. I believe you're muted.
I think I saw Candy Cook's hand up. I'm not sure, but I was going to let her go first.
Okay. Ms. Cook?
My question is that if we go back live, will we still have the opportunity to do virtual if we can't make the trip? Because we had that previously, Vanessa, didn't we?
Yeah, Esac, if I'm remembering correctly, and I'm sorry I don't have it off the top of my head, I think you guys have a provision that allows for that.
Okay.
And we have, I'm not going to say perfected, but we have developed a decent hybrid live meeting option as a result of all this. And so, which I think will be better than what we had before. I'm saying all of that very tentatively because, as most of you know, I worked here in real life for 12 weeks before COVID. So, I never did any live meetings. I had a live commission meeting my third day of work. So I am new to this process too. But yes, I do think that is an option. And I think, I don't know if any of you have watched Broker Lawyer or any of these commission meetings. The most recent one had a hybrid component, the May one, is that right? So I do think we have that option, and I think I think it's pretty good. So I will work at crafting you the best that I can do with everything that we have in place, and I will seek your input on that.
Okay.
So we'll send out a survey and get everybody's feelings on that, and we'll let you know what the next meeting will entail. Okay, Miss Wilkinson, I believe you're up.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank Candy Cook because I think kudos to her that's quite an honor to speak before the Arillo group, and we should all be proud of her. She does a great job. All of you all are so good and at what you do and for your contributions. The commission wouldn't be the commission without these good committees working to make it happen. One thing that we've started doing, I don't know if y'all are all aware of it, but thanks to our chairman, Kester, we do now have workshops. And at those workshops, that's where a lot of the meat gets heard from your committees. And I think they're getting better. I don't know, Jennifer, you've been in all of them. I think that Vanessa, of course, and Amber. And I really think that's where we will see a lot of progress going forward in those workshops. So anything that you all want me to bring to the workshop or to the commission, I would like that input. And as well as we've got Commissioner Russell here, I think, and did you say Leslie Lerner, Commissioner Lerner is here? So we're interested in knowing because we realize that this is our future for TREC and making and I think y'all just hit something on the head with the instructor. That's just one little bit, but it could be a major part of solving some of the competency and outreach programs that we're talking about. So thank you all for all you're doing.
Thank you. And I echo kudos to Candy for the Arillo keynote. That's great. Looks like we have a little bit of comment. There's general.council@trec.texas.gov, which is a general questions comments email that you can send to. So that looks like it's in the chat. I'll work with Vanessa and Jennifer to send out a comprehensive email with a lot of this information that we talked about, just as a reminder. I know we'll all sleep since then and go on about our business and have lots going on. So thank you very much. All right. Well, it looks like we got through the agenda. We have our future meeting dates. It looks like Monday, October 4th and January 3rd. So let's get those on our calendar. Monday, October 4th and January 3rd. Do we have any objection to the October 4th meeting date? We feel good about that. I think we had confirmed that at the last meeting, so we should be okay. All right. Well, with no further business, if anybody else has anything else to say, I'll give you the floor. If not, we are adjourned.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. It's great to see you.
Thank you,
Have
Clea.
a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.